yet again, and look, man, these actors and actresses have to understand that they're kind of being used here, right? They have to be knowledgeable on that studios are using you guys as a shield for pretty much any criticism it is that happens, and then it always becomes racial or about gender and all of that. It's, even if you are leading with it as a studio and people are critical of it. Now, I haven't done a whole lot of videos on this subject matter. I don't think I have. But it is what it is. Same thing, tokenization. Danish Fairy Tale was based on the Danish Fairy Tale and Little Mermaid, but they've changed it for Riva with Star Wars. We've seen it with every character that's female. And then people, if they lead with it, they beat you over the head with the whole deal. And then people say, well, I'm not necessarily interested in that. Well, you're racist, you're homophobic, you're sexist, and all that stuff. So the Hollywood Reporter reported the actual actress and some of the things that she had to say about the response. She doesn't seem to get it, or I don't know if she's just receiving the talking points from the studios. And but I think she is genuine, but she doesn't get it. We'll listen here in a bit. Let me see if I can get this fixed. Okay, let's listen in just real quick.
The racist backlash she received when news broke that she was cast as Ariel in Disney's live-action adaptation of The Little Mermaid. In a new cover story for The Face, Bailey said some of the negative reactions were not a surprise. As a black person, you just expect it, and it's not really a shock anymore. I know people are like, it's not about race, but now that I'm her, people don't understand that when you're black, there's this whole other community. It's so important for us to see ourselves.
Okay, like, I reject that, and I say this as a person that's darker skinned than she is, not trying to play the colorism card or anything. I'm just like, let's just be very, very clear and open and honest. Look, man, saying people, this is the thing that I vehemently disagree with in terms of what Hollywood perpetuates, but also what you guys are school teachers, all that shit. And that is, you're not an individual, you're tied to your race. So it's something that you're supposed to get something out of it because, well, people now can see a black person in a role of another, like a character that we've seen historically as white. It means so, and it's like, no. For one, I guess if anything, you're telling them that they're not valuable enough to have their own characters. I guess if you actually believe that, I reject that for sure. But on the other hand, it's like, dude, people are individuals, okay? And there are ways, and you are a very shallow person. And if a kid believe, and that's a learned trait. You guys that have children, you know this, man. Children will go to the playground, they'll play with anybody, they'll gravitate towards whoever's more like in terms of their personality, compatible with them. They don't care about that stuff. It isn't until there, be it the parents, be it the schools or whatever, are beating these sort of more divisive tactics on people as far as what they should be gravitating towards, what's important, whether it be on the racial stuff, where they start gravitating towards that. This idea that it's just so natural that's what it is. Like, oh, they just see a person that's a similar skin. That doesn't matter. That's something you taught them, and then it matters to them because you taught them that's something that they're supposed to value. Where I believe that's a shallow thing. That's the least interesting thing about you. And I would hope you are instilling that stuff in your children because they're individuals. Let them be judged by their merits. Let them be judged by their accomplishments, things that they actually had control of. You come out a woman, you come out a man, you didn't have control of that. You come out a black person, you didn't have control of that. Your parents just happened to shack up and maybe they were both black and wham! You came out that way. It was nothing you earned. Nothing you earned. That's why I say it's the least interesting thing. So imagine being so self-important where you think, hey, I'm in this role of tokenized Ariel, and it means so much that I can touch and reach and touch these these people that see me. And now they'll believe that they themselves can do it. That's for losers, man. But she comes up and she actually talks. Let's listen to her.
She credits mentor Beyonce for offering sound advice to her and sister Chloe Bailey that she continues to lean on. When Chloe and I first signed to Parkwood, B was always like, I never read my comments. Don't ever read the comments. Honestly, when the teaser came out, I was at the D23 Expo, and I was so happy. I didn't see any of the negativity. When the Hollywood Reporter caught up with Bailey last year at the D23 event, she relayed the most magical part of the experience for her.
The fact that I get to kind of represent all of these little young black and brown boys and girls who are to come.
You don't represent anybody other than yourself and the person, I guess, that you're playing in the role. That's it. This is like arrogance. This is self-righteousness that they believe. And this is why, if you wonder why, like, social justice, it's the tool of like the I guess you don't want to say lazy. That's not the proper term. It's more of the people that are uninteresting. Okay. And they want something else to fall back on because this is easy, right? Because you're just existing as a black person, and therefore just existing and being in this said role means that you are doing something that you feel is, let's say, correcting a maybe previous social norm or correcting a previous social ill of some sort. And you have to have a little bit of arrogance about yourself where you're like, I represent all the little brown boys and brown. I'm like, dog, no, you don't. You don't represent any of them. I would hope these folks have children, these folks have parents, right? And let them look up to them. You don't represent them. It's just not, and it's like, again, it'd be one thing if it's something in terms of like your accomplishment, man. Where you're like, look, man, I can do this. I'm showing you that this can be done type of a situation. But to limit at the skin tone just makes you appear shallow.
Is really special to me because I know that if I had that when I was younger, it would have changed my whole perspective on life.
Well, man, imagine that. I don't know her relationship with her mother or father, but imagine that, man. I would think that you would feel like absolute crap if you were the mother or father and you hear her say that, right? Let me go to myself. And then she's basically saying like she didn't have any good, like, and some people don't. But be it a father figure, be it a mother that she could look to, and I guess because she said that would have meant something else. Like, and first of all, like it seems like the whole, what's her name? The chick that acted like she was the first freaking female action hit figure. Like, you ain't the first black woman to appear, hell, in a tokenized role, let alone just a role in a film. Like, what do you mean if you never, what did you, because she has to be maybe my age or younger, right? So what didn't you see as far as that you couldn't see if you were young? What is that? Young black people or black women in role. We've seen that before. Shallow. But I think it's a dangerous, on a serious note, I do think it's just a dangerous ideal to have that is constantly being perpetuated. And that's telling young people that race is so important that they can envision a world where they can see forward progress and accomplish great things unless they see some other person that they will never meet, doesn't even know they exist, that has a similar skin tone doing other things. You're not treating individuals like they're individuals at all. You treat them as monolithic blocks, but on the real, that's a learned trait. That's not something that people just come out thinking. Doesn't work that way. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rippaverse Comics. Our first book and campaign, ISOM #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit Rippaverse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app. Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rippaverse. Anyway, I appreciate you so much for being a supporter and or customer. I even got a little love for my haters.